So this video is not really going to have any sort of typical structure like I usually do because I don't think it needs it. Today is August 17th, 2023. And as of today, it is now 10 years since I've been in Virginia. And it's something I've been thinking about as far as anniversaries, milestones, what it means in that context. I don't necessarily know if I comprehend yet what it means in that context. I apologize if any of this is going to sound incoherent. I didn't do a, structured script or anything. But I think because I had recorded another video earlier today, and it was about this whole same, reflections and thought process on the fact that I have now lived in Virginia for a decade. And that to me just seems surreal because I don't know. I think everybody's concept of time is different. And I will put it out there. No, this is not, for somebody to find that believes in this whole time blindness thing that's going around today. I don't know what that's about. That's not time blindness. That's laziness. But I think more so than trying to understand whether to define or characterize this as an anniversary or milestone, because I guess they can be used interchangeably, which is weird. Why both words exist if they are both kind of the same thing. There's too many words in the English language, I think. And if you look on TikTok, there are, I believe it's Scottish and Irish. They have these videos where the same word or phrase means like 12 different things, which is wild to me. So they try to string a sentence together, and it just sounds like babble, which is funny as hell. But anyway, I wanted to put this out because I think that I've learned something new, either separate of myself or about myself, each year since I've lived outside of New York. Because if anybody has heard me talk about the reasons leading up to me deciding to move out of New York, you know that for the longest time, I was told by so many people throughout the first 28 years of my life that either I would never amount to nothing, I would always need to live under my mother's roof because I would always need to have her, advocate for me or do things for me. And basically just a bunch of people that I don't know if it was their way of trying to motivate me. If it was a really shitty way to do so. Just made me not want those people in my life. But there were always people expressing their views to me, unsolicited, might I add. And, they would say, oh, you're going to have to rely on people, almost your entire life. Those people I now look back and I understand that they didn't have an understanding of who I was. They didn't have an understanding of who my mom raised me to be. And it blows my mind how people walk around with a certain narrative about the people that they interact with or that they consider are close to them. It doesn't matter if somebody considers you close to them, they will still have their own individual narrative about you, whether it's accurate or inaccurate. And somebody, was it somebody that said it or something I read online within the last few years, is that no two people know the same version of you. Like, two people could be interacting with me independently and both have different versions of me without me even really trying, or maybe even without them knowing. Um, and that's wild to me, how you present yourself differently to other people, whether it be intentional or unintentional. But I think what I've learned over the last 10 years is the importance of effort. And I look back, and while I acknowledge that there is far more effort that I could put into things, I think that I put the effort into things that I am capable of. I put the level of effort into things that I'm capable of at that particular time, uh, as not to burn myself out. And the reason I make that distinction is because when I was getting ready, when I even announced that I was, leaving New York and moving to Virginia, I had people all of a sudden showing interest in, when I was leaving, why I was leaving, where I was going, all of a sudden asking questions. And I had people making remarks to me on social media that they were going to miss me and they wanted to make sure that I was going to come back and visit. And I would say, outside of the final gathering that I put together before I left in the summer of 2013, I don't know that a lot of friends or people I considered friends made the conscious effort to come over and get me to include me in the activities that they were doing in the course of a day. Now, there are certain people that stand out to me that have done that, but the majority of people that reacted to me leaving New York are not the people that actively sought me out to include me in the things that they were doing. And I think, as far as effort goes, I don't know that you should necessarily expect the same amount of effort from somebody putting effort into you that you put into them. I don't know that I would go so far as to say that, but I think that there are ways in which somebody can put an equal amount of effort, maybe in a different way. So maybe it's not the amount of effort, it's the type of effort that you put in. And I say that to say this. When I left New York, a lot of people told me, oh, maybe at some time or at some point, I will, come down and see you. It'll give me a chance to, get the hell out of New York and actually, see things outside of the state. I was like, cool, that's fine. That'd be great to have you come down and visit. I can say without any shadow of reservation, not once have I had anybody from New York that said that they were going to come down and see me actually follow through. And I do have, my friend Krista, who obviously we grew up in New York together. She was in Florida by the time I got down to Virginia. She's been here to visit, I believe, at least once, maybe twice. I don't recall. But I know that she has come to Virginia to see me. Krista and I have known each other since we were 5 years old. So we have always kind of had that connection where we put the same amount of effort into being part of each other's lives, in equal amount of effort. Now, that effort doesn't manifest in the same ways. It's in very different ways, but I would consider it the same amount of effort. And while I have told people over the last few years that I don't necessarily have, the group of people around me that I had necessarily had in New York, I've started to realize that each time that comes out of my mouth, that even though I don't have a lot of close-knit friends here in Virginia, I don't know that I could say that I had close-knit friends in New York now, because I look back and I'm able to see with a fresh pair of eyes, even though I can't see for shit, that the amount of effort that was put into whatever connection we had was not similar. It was not equal. And it's sad, because if I were to still be back in New York, I know that when it was convenient for them, or when they needed to extract something from me, I know that they would be around. They would, be buddy with me. And I never saw that when I was in New York. I never was able to acknowledge that because I was in the midst of it happening. So I didn't recognize that. Now that I've been in Virginia for the last 10 years, while it hasn't been the people that I had thought it would be, I will say that there are people that over time have shown me what effort is. And they've shown me the effort that they put into the things that motivate them. They've shown me, effort that they have to take to make sure that they are being productive and getting things done and just trying to stay, active or an active part of their own life. But the main thing is they've shown me what it means to have somebody put effort into another person. Because I was so comfortable, or maybe it was just that I was clueless. I don't know. I was at such a point in New York that I was putting effort into people and not recognizing that the same amount of effort wasn't being reciprocated. The reason I say that is about 10, 11, 12 days ago, something along those lines. Amanda, my podcast co-host, or one of them, because we have Chad as well, but Amanda really went above and beyond to plan a trip out from Kansas to come here to Roanoke to go to Comic-Con with me to help kind of get the word out there about the podcast. And that, to me, showed effort. She and I simply met because of TikTok. We met online, essentially. And I believe it was shortly after was when I pitched the idea to her to be a co-host with me for the podcast. And while we've definitely had an interesting experience getting to where we are at this juncture in the podcast, it's been equal effort. It's been equal interest. And I think that's why I haven't gotten burnt out or jaded toward what's been, happening, because this whole process, because I had tried to start several other podcasts from like 2018 to 2020, 2021 when I met Amanda, and the same amount of effort wasn't being put into those podcasts from the other people involved. And I think I recognized that difference once Amanda and I started collaborating. And it's been a learning experience, but it's been refreshing to see somebody on the same level of wanting to see something they're involved in succeed, as well as the people they are involved with within that task. And then, like I said, we also have Chad, who we brought in with us now as a permanent host. And my understanding, based on the conversations he's had with us, is he fell in love with the whole concept of podcasting from the first time we had him on as a guest co-host. And these two have showed me what effort is and how effort should be applied to situations and to individuals involved in those situations. And honestly, as much as it was ingrained into me for years that, the one who dies with the most friends wins. I stopped believing that once I got down here and started having a clear image of the first 28 years of my life, because I realized that while that's nice and that's, a utopia kind of thing, utopia is bullshit. Uh, the ones who are interested and willing voluntarily to put as much effort into creating a connection with somebody are the ones you want to keep around. It doesn't matter the number of people that are willing to do that. It just matters that you acquire those people and you keep them around, because those are the people that are going to be mentally and emotionally healthy for you. So as much as I still try to engage in conversation with people from back up in New York, it makes me realize more and more that I'm trying to put effort into something and keep something on life support that maybe should not be on life support. Uh, so I don't know how my relationships with people from my past are going to necessarily play a part in what we have going forward. And I say we because there's a lot of things that myself, Chad, and Amanda are working on. There are going to be people that just do not play a role in those plans. And I'm realizing that's okay. And I'm also realizing that it's okay to, even if you think about somebody actively, for however long, you don't always have to be the one to make the first move to contact them. Expect other people to have that same drive to want to reach out to you, because that is how true connection is. That is how true connections are made. And if you saw the group chat that me, Chad, and Amanda have, it's constant. Like, we are constantly in contact with each other, but we also aren't glued to our devices. We aren't glued to the internet, but we still are in regular contact on a daily basis. And I think that is what is missing from society and culture today, because the three of us grew up in a time where you went out, you went to find your friends, you actually were, actively doing something to try and go find people that you wanted to spend time with. And while both of them live in different states than me, we still make an effort to be in each other's lives, to make sure that we keep up with what each other's doing. And I think the the theme of this year, from August 20th, 2023 to August 2024, I think the theme is, for at least for me, is going to be effort, because I now have a clear understanding of what effort is, what effort needs to be, and how it needs to be applied to be effective. And I'm, for all of the, roadblocks that I may have hit in the last 10 years, trying to adjust to making such a big decision, I think that I'm finally at a place where I know how to be effective, I know how to be productive, and I know how to go for the things that I want to accomplish, and I know the type of people that need to be around for that to happen. And I just, being that today is literally the 10-year anniversary milestone, however you want to, characterize it, that I have been in Virginia and have been on this journey since moving out of New York. I just kind of wanted to put that out there to anybody who is really looking for a direction. Look for the people that are going to put effort into you, as much effort into you as you will put into them. Because that's how we build community. That's how we create a strong society. And that is what the podcast is all about, is examining society and culture and the people that make it up. This wasn't necessarily supposed to be a pitch for the podcast, but join us on the podcast. Contribute ideas for topics. We want to build culture. We want to build community. We want to help society thrive individually and collectively. And I think that you just need to have the right people around you to create that balance. But it all starts with effort. And understanding effort is that first step. So I hope everybody has a good day, evening. It's about 5 o'clock here. So hope everybody has a good evening. I'm going to try and be a little bit more consistent with uploading to my personal channel. I don't know how consistent yet, or how frequently yet, but it will be a little bit more consistent because I'm going to put the effort in. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the feedback that you guys have.